Wednesday, March 31. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. The killing of 20-year-old accounting clerk Conch Jackson topped the agenda at Gordon House on Tuesday, with several members of Parliament on both sides of the House speaking out against gender-based violence. Ms. Jackson was murdered in Portmore, St. Catherine last week. 50-year-old Robert Fowler, an auto mechanic of Gregory Park, St. Catherine, has been charged for the murder.
Ms. Jackson's body was found last Friday morning in bushes off the Dyke Road in Portmore, St. Catherine. She had been reported missing on Wednesday after leaving for work but not returning home. Speaker of the House, Marissa Dalrymple-Philbert, allotted time for members to speak on the gruesome act and make suggestions on how such incidents can be prevented.
I just want to note that it is unusual for us to have statements at this time from everybody, but because of the gravity of the situation, because of the absolute depravity of what has taken place, I am using my position as a speaker to allow members of this House to speak on the matter.
Conch Jackson was a citizen of Southeast St. Catherine. The entire constituency is in mourning. I had the privilege of meeting with her mom along with Honorable Prime Minister, and the entire constituency is at grief. You see, Madam Speaker, young Jackson had a bright future. She was actually working to save to start tertiary education this September. Madam Speaker, Southeast St. Catherine citizens need justice, and they need justice now.
Many Jamaicans have been saying in the last couple of days, will this be another 9-day wonder? Will we just be outraged now and then what? And I believe that it falls to us to make sure it goes beyond that. So in doing that, I also want to thank the Jamaica Constabulary Force in terms of the swift action that they have been taking and where we are now in terms of the case itself. And I want to extend condolences to the family. We mourn with them today. We feel the sorrow. We too, many of us, are either daughters or mothers or fathers or sisters or brothers to women. So we understand what this must be doing to the family.
Member of Parliament for St. Catherine North East, Carencia Morrison, called for stronger legislation to deter such criminal acts.
I rise to call for the amendment to Section 42D of the Criminal Justice Act number 29, 2015, the relevant section 42D. Madam Speaker, it says, where the defendant indicates to the court on the first relevant date that he wishes to plead guilty to the offense, the sentence may be reduced by up to 50%. Where the defendant indicates to the court on the first relevant date that he wishes, but before the trial commences, that he wishes to plead guilty to the offense, the sentence may be reduced by up to 35%. Madam Speaker, even if there is a reduction in the sentence of pleading guilty, the amount given must be reflective of the nature and severity of the offense, Madam Speaker. The law needs to serve as a deterrent. It cannot be that you murder someone, you kill someone, and it's an automatic 50% of the sentence because of a guilty plea.
Justice Minister Delroy Chuck responded.
I really wanted to repeal that Section 42D that dealt with it. And I must tell you, I argued with my technical team that we must repeal it and let the plea negotiation be the basis on which we impose the sentence. But because it was only passed in 2015, and this is 2016, my technical team literally said, allow it to see how it works. But the truth of the matter, Madam Speaker, is that the judges blame us in Parliament in that their hands are tied, in that once the person pleads guilty on the first opportunity, they simply say 50% reduction. If it is not the first opportunity, 35%. And if it is during the trial, 25%. Madam Speaker, the way when I reflect and see how it has been happening, it is not appropriate in every situation.
He also said legislation would be brought to Parliament which would give the prosecution the ability to appeal sentences. Leader of the opposition, Mark Golding, says government should look at legislation that deal with personal protective weapons, such as pepper spray.
Here now, in 2021, women are feeling unsafe, the resources of the state are stretched, and they're calling for action. And I would urge the government to look at that particular issue again, look at what was attempted in 2001, and if necessary, amend the Firearms Act, a simple amendment to exclude from the purview of the Firearms Act pepper spray or mace carried for personal protection, and facilitate a regime that would allow its importation, distribution, sale in an appropriately controlled way.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says all Jamaicans should look at aspects of their culture that perpetuate violence and work on changing them. One aspect is the moral responsibility of artists.
In as much as you are free to reflect what is happening in the society, you also have a duty to place it in context. That to take up the AK-47 and done it in a man's head, that is not right. And though you have the protection of the Constitution to sing about it, you also have a duty to the children who are listening to you to say, man, that is not right. Jamaica has to take an instrumental approach to this matter. It can't be that we come to the House and we just give impassioned speeches. We have to study the problem in Jamaica and put in place the measures to solve it. Having recognized this whilst I was the Minister of Education, and having this struggle, the social struggle about how we discipline our children and how do we put in place non-violent means of behavior modification with great resistance from institutions that should be against the violence, but are grounded, indeed anchored to perspectives that are not enlightened.
Gender Affairs Minister Olivia Babs-Grange says a number of programs are being introduced by her ministry to tackle gender-based violence. She gave an update in Parliament.
Minister Grange says the Refocus Perpetrators Program will aim to provide alternative conflict resolution.
And this aims to provide alternative conflict resolution and rehabilitation techniques as options for men involved in intimate partner violence. This program starts this April. Another program, Know Your Rights information sessions. The idea here is to increase knowledge and awareness within the community on the Sexual Harassment Prevention Act and Domestic Violence Act. Another program, Stand Up, Talk Up information sessions. This aims to sensitize men and women to the issues surrounding intimate partner violence, positive masculinity, sexual harassment at the workplace, and child abuse.
She says plans are in place to increase sensitization on the male crisis helpline.
Many persons still see the Bureau as the Bureau of Women's Affairs, and so many of our men are not aware of this helpline. The Bureau will be taking to the streets and communities and hope to get help from the SDC to put this information by way of flyers in barbershops, bars, churches, etc., where men usually converged.
Minister Grange lamented the number of women and girls who have been killed in Jamaica.
It is on a somber note and with pain in my heart that I stand to give voice to the now suppressed voices of our sisters who have been brutally killed in the epidemic of domestic violence in our country. Killed because some man felt he had the right to decide whom she should love or that she should continue in an abusive relationship regardless. Killed because she did not have the physical strength to fight back. As intimidated and threatened, she kept silence until the moment of her death. Madam Speaker, we say today a special prayer for the soul and for the family of those who have been killed, and a special prayer for Kenise Jackson.
She says the ministry, through the Bureau of Gender Affairs, will continue consulting with members of society so that they can learn to recognize the telltale signs of abuse.
There are those who are promoting the need for women to defend themselves by various means within the law. The idea that women should defend their lives by various means is gaining currency. Some have suggested that women arm themselves with pepper spray and other such instruments of defense. However, Madam Speaker, we are aware that there would need to be greater dialogue with the Ministry of Justice in relation to these matters. Suffice it to say that our women must now take very seriously their domestic circumstances and be open to counseling.
Minister Grange says there can be no comfort as long as our women and children continue to face hostility, aggression, and violent death.
The Knockalva Polytech College Agro-Processing Learning Lab was officially opened today, Wednesday, March 31. The Learning Lab will help prepare students for employment in agro-processing and the wider world of agribusiness.
Where we are in Rumble, we are definitely poised to be dominant change agent. Because here you do not have any agro-processing unit.
Right.
No agro-processing unit. And so what will happen now is that persons will have the opportunity to establish a relationship, a meaningful relationship with the college. Because we are driven by social concerns in whatever we do. So although we are getting into producing, we are also ensuring that the small farmers and persons in the community will know that they have an entity in which they can get engaged. So our students are being encouraged through this program to take an entrepreneurial outlook and also to be engaged in agro-tourism. Yes, because we are seeking to go that route as well.
The initiative is part of the USAID Advanced Program.
It is so important that for this and other technical careers, students get to see what is happening in the real world, what is actually unfolding in the workplace. This agro-processing lab is what you would call a mini processing unit, where the students will do and learn remarkable things about food. I love food, I'm sure you do too. They'll work with specialized equipment to help them to practice and hone their skills in order to be prepared to work in the food industry. Now, I've been told we even have some budding entrepreneurs at Knockalva, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of your products on the supermarket shelves one day.
The program works with technical education institutions in Honduras, Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica to help disadvantaged youngsters gain access to higher quality 2- or 3-year technical degree programs as a viable path to employment.
So I want to thank the FA360 team, the Advanced Program, the USAID family for investing in this support. And this is critical for us in the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and for Jamaica for a number of reasons. One, the reality, any sector, any industry cannot advance further than the quality of its professionals. For agriculture to grow, to modernize, to infuse technology, we have to have well-trained students coming into agriculture. Students who have chosen agriculture as their profession and who have the technical expertise to revolutionize our agricultural system. That technical expertise is going to be delivered through training institutions like Knockalva. And as such, our ability to ensure that those institutions have cutting-edge technology, they're tapping into the world best in terms of resources, in terms of training expertise, they are pulling their youth closer to first world technologies will make all the difference. And that is what this Agro-Processing Learning Lab does. So it will allow Knockalva to produce a better quality student targeted in the direction that the ministry is going. And what is that direction? That direction is for us to move from just being primary producers to being agro-processors, to enhancing our value chain development, to ensure that we're taking Jamaica to the world, not just by way of our fresh produce, but by some of the best agro-processed items you can find.
The conch season starts tomorrow, Thursday, April 1, with very strict rules to prevent illegal fishing and to promote a sustainable industry. The regulations include no fishing for conch in the areas east of the South Key. There will reportedly be an allowance of a total catch of 250 and 300 metric tons for industrial and artisan fishers. More from Marlon Samuels.
Exported as a delicacy, queen conch is loaded with protein, iron, and omega-3. It is also been touted among the new superfoods. A 2020 survey shows a major improvement in the density of conch stock by approximately 16%, to over 180 conchs per hectare. This follows a ban in 2018 on the fishing of conch to allow for the replenishment of stock. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green says there will be an allowance for a total catch of 250 and 300 metric tons for industrial and small traditional fishers when the season starts. A number of stringent regulations have been put in place by the National Fisheries Authority, NFA, for conch season. They include no fishing for conch in the areas east of the South Key. The regulations also stipulate that all conch fishing vessels must operate on a real-time monitoring system that the NFA can track. Minister Green says the authorities are on a full enforcement drive to protect Jamaica's conch industry from foreign and local poachers from fishing in the country's waters. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
Uber says it will soon be offering its services in Jamaica. Uber is a ride-hailing company that offers an app. The app is used to submit a trip request. The request is automatically sent to an Uber driver near to you. The company recently sent out an email inviting drivers in Kingston, Jamaica to sign up. Interested persons can sign up virtually via drivers.uber.com. That's drivers.uber.com. Uber currently operates in 65 countries and more than 700 cities around the world. Are you filling your prescriptions? And having filled them, are you taking your medications as prescribed? In today's Living Healthy report, Dr. Lawson Myers of the Ligony Family Dental Clinic discusses common challenges patients have while taking medication and offers some tips on how to overcome them.
of the most important factors in complete healing is taking medication as prescribed. Do you know that there are many people who actually do not fill their prescriptions? And then there are those who fill the prescriptions and never take the medication, or if they start, they do not end up finishing what was prescribed. It's important to follow your physician or your dentist's prescription to the letter of the prescription. Otherwise, it will not be effective. Two of the most widely used category of drugs are antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. Prescribed medication needs to be taken as directed. Now, antibiotics is the category of drugs used to treat infections. They have to be taken as directed because if you don't have enough in your bloodstream, it will not kill the infection. The bugs may be stunted, but they're going to come back with a vengeance. So you must take the antibiotics at the strength prescribed and to completion. Anti-inflammatories are commonly referred to as pain medication. You can have inflammation with or without pain. So regardless of how you feel, if you have been directed to take your anti-inflammatories for X number of days, don't stop because you feel better. I have a tip for you. Twice a day or 3 times a day or 4 times a day means that you have to take the antibiotic or the anti-inflammatory at equal spaces of time. So twice a day, 12 in the morning, 12 at night. 3 times a day, every 8 hours. 4 times a day, 6 hours apart. Now, if you're taking medication and you develop any itching or swelling, you need to call your doctor right away. You may be developing an allergic reaction. Other than that, you take your medication to completion. Ladies, sometimes taking antibiotics can interfere with oral contraceptives, so make sure you're covering yourself with something else. And if you begin to have any vaginal itching, you may need to have a yeast infection treated. So keep in close contact with your doctor, keep in close contact with your pharmacist, and take your medication as directed. Remember, it's extremely important to fill your prescriptions and to take your medication as directed. Check the labels. Make sure that the medication prescribed is what you were given by the pharmacist. Also, make sure the strength that you prescribed is what you were given. I am on my way to the riverhead. Catch you later. Facebook, YouTube, and our LFD website. See you next time on HD's Jazz.
At the start of this week, the Bank of Jamaica announced it will continue to hold its policy rate at 0.50% per annum. We get this and other market updates in this edition of the Business Report. In the Business Report, the Bank of Jamaica has announced that it will continue to hold its policy rate at 0.50% per annum. The central bank says this is in an effort to stimulate economic growth and aid recovery from the debilitating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The policy interest rate is offered to deposit-taking institutions on overnight placements with the Bank of Jamaica, which has continuously kept this rate at an historic low. The BOJ, in a new statement this week, said that its decision to keep the policy rate at this level was aimed at facilitating speedy economic recovery and to jumpstart greater economic activities in the aftermath of the pandemic. In Tuesday's trading session, the following reflects the movement of the JSE indices. The JSE All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 1,000 points to close at 430,000 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 40 stocks, of which 19 advanced, 16 declined, and 5 traded firm. Mayberry Jamaica Equities Limited was the volume leader with 19 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 3 million units and Supreme Ventures Limited with 3 million units. In Tuesday's foreign exchange summary, the U.S. dollar traded for $146.21. The Canadian dollar went for an average of $117.47. The British pound traded for $203.19, and the euro exited the market at $173.76. And time now for the latest global oil prices. Brent crude oil futures slipped 35 cents to trade for $63.82 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures lost 30 cents to trade for $60.25. And that's the business report. And time now for news from the world of sports. A landmark. That's how Chief Marketing Officer of Supreme Ventures Limited, Heather Golson, has described a new agreement with the Jamaica Olympic Association. Supreme's Ventures Limited has signed a $45 million deal to support the JOA over the 3-year period. The deal will see the JOA receiving $15 million annually with a contractual start date of April 1 of this year. The financing will span the members' associations that fall under the JOA, including track and field, rugby, netball, and volleyball. It will go to the development of sport for the extent of the contract period. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.